Hamilton lost 4/10 on a Suzuka straight because his car's code failed. Ferrari's energy software is being rewritten, and Hamilton is the reason. He sat with engineers and helped build the fix. Then he tested it at Monza behind closed doors and posted the fastest time. Early data beat expectations. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. The software is a self-learning system between battery and motor. It adapts lap by lap. At Suzuka, Hamilton caught oversteer, a half-second correction every driver makes. The software read it as a style change and rewrote its power plan. Hamilton lost 2.5 on the back straight, not because the battery was empty, because the software changed its mind on one input. Miami is 7 days away. The code is too jumpy for racing where drivers catch slides. Monza shows the code works for filming, but Miami will tell if it's ready for a title fight. If the new software recovers half of what Hamilton lost, the SF26 becomes a car that can fight anywhere. And that is where this story gets complicated. Ferrari sits second with 3 podiums, yet one weakness keeps them from winning. The 2026 regulations shifted the battlefield from horsepower to intelligent energy flow. The FIA dropped qualifying recharge and raised superclip power. Every team had 48 hours to rewrite maps. Ferrari's response was a full rebuild. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. Mercedes holds a 25 to 30 horsepower advantage. That matters. But under these rules, raw power means less than intelligent deployment. Hamilton spent 12 years at Mercedes learning hybrid delivery. That experience is now inside Maranello. The SF26 has the best starts and carries corner speed. The problem is the software deciding when speed is available. If Ferrari's code cannot handle Miami, that hardware gap becomes impossible to close. The real question is whether Ferrari cracked the code defining 2026. Honda battles battery shaking. McLaren found gains. Hamilton noticed. Mercedes is benchmark, but FIA targets their compression trick. The smartest software wins. That is why Ferrari's answer is new code, not new hardware. But to understand why, you need to see how it failed at Suzuka. Hamilton flew through Suzuka's first 2 sectors in qualifying 3. The car felt balanced. Then came the oversteer snap, a half-second correction every driver makes. But the car's brain interpreted it as a fundamental change. The algorithm rewrote its power plan mid-lap. What happened next was not engine failure. It was far more unsettling. Hamilton lost 2.5 on that straight. Not because the battery ran dry, because the software panicked. He said, it should be like you catch it and keep going. Instead, the code treated one input as a reset. This pattern showed up everywhere. Ferrari looks fast in qualifying 1 and 2. Then in qualifying 3, the car fades. The chassis carries speed through corners, the software loses it on straights. That mismatch costs 1 second per lap. The Suzuka failure was not isolated, it was present since Melbourne. The code is too quick to rewrite on small changes, too fragile for racing where drivers correct slides constantly. Fixing this required a new philosophy about driver-machine communication. And that is what Hamilton helped build at Maranello. Hamilton helped write the code controlling his car. After Suzuka, he walked into Enrico Gualtieri's power unit group. 7 meetings in 1 day to understand the algorithm. This was not feedback through a race engineer. This was a driver with 12 years of hybrid data rebuilding the system. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. Ferrari hired Maxim Martinez, a former Mercedes engineer from Nissan's Formula E program. He sits inside Gualtieri's team, focused on power delivery. The driver who knows hybrid deployment best, working with the engineer who builds it. Hamilton gave himself to simulator sessions, recreating the oversteer snaps, breaking the old code. Monza produced 1 minute 26.585. Garage doors shut. No media. Hamilton never liked simulators. He prefers real track time. His return to Maranello shows urgency. Monza proved the code works on a real car, but a filming day is not a Grand Prix in heat. Real validation comes when software faces racing chaos, and that chaos awaits in Miami. McLaren found something Hamilton noticed. Their cars drag less at straight ends, critical under 2026 rules. Mercedes remains benchmark, but FIA targets their compression trick. Aston Martin battles battery shaking, limiting Alonso to 25 laps. Every team learns the same lesson. Raw power matters less than smart deployment. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. The truth is simple. The engine making most horsepower is not always fastest. Ferrari attacks from every angle. Driver feedback, simulator data, testing, all aligned. The risk is real. Too conservative gains reliability but loses performance. Too aggressive risks repeating Suzuka. The number Ferrari did not publish was the stability metric for race chaos. This is the defining narrative of 2026. Every team rewrites code, tests limits, searches for balance. The team cracking this first gains an advantage hardware cannot match. But software working in cool April air may act differently under Miami sun. Heat changes everything. That makes Florida the ultimate test. Miami is where Ferrari's code faces its first exam. Long straights mix with tight corners and heavy braking. Straights drain battery if timing is off. Slow corners recover less energy. The code needs tighter energy budget. But heat is the silent variable. May temperatures push cooling to the limit. Track surfaces go past 50 degrees Celsius. Heat affects battery storage and delivery. Cells lose output and trigger safety modes. Software working in cool April air may act differently under Miami sun. Safety car restarts demand instant power. The code must snap from saving to attack within 1 lap. Tyre wear changes braking points. Recovery zones shift over stints. Software must track changes without overreacting. Under active aero rules, straight speed depends on wing timing. Peak power must match wing changes within hundredths of a second. Ferrari modeled this in simulator, but real heat is unpredictable. If the code holds in Miami, it holds anywhere. But Monza's data holds the first clue. Monza produced 1 minute 26.585. That tells little. What matters is 34 laps behind closed doors. Early data beat expectations. The code maintained power without super clipping. Battery retained charge deeper into straights. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. 4 improvements target failures. Rewritten timing stops early battery drain. Smarter recovery manages drag cost. The learning model requires pattern changes across laps. Extended charge management pushes range higher before cuts. These work with the new floor and wing worth 8 to 10 km per hour. But filming day lacks race variables. No degradation. No fuel burn. Real validation arrives in Miami practice. Watch Sector 2 and compare Ferrari's Delta to McLaren and Mercedes. If the gap shrinks, software works under real conditions. Hamilton's simulator work paid off. The code handles corrections without rewriting, but a controlled test is not a Grand Prix in heat. Championship implications go beyond one race. And that is what the final section reveals. Hamilton arrives in Miami with a question. Can the software he built deliver power when it matters? The SF26 has the best chassis. It corners with confidence, but straight line speed held it back. If the code closes half the gap Hamilton lost, everything changes. The car transforms from specialist to contender. But if software fails, weakness remains. And that is where the championship hangs. Mercedes holds 25 to 30 horsepower. That matters, but intelligent deployment can neutralize raw power. The ADO upgrade may bring performance from Canada. The software fix is the bridge. It buys Ferrari time. Hamilton would no longer coast into braking zones. The gap to Mercedes would shrink. But here is what the paddock is not talking about. Miami on May 3rd is the test. A Grand Prix in heat. If Ferrari's code holds, they fight everywhere. If it fails, weakness stops wins. Either way, this is the first data point in a software-driven fight defining 2026. In Formula One's new era, the fastest car is not built in wind tunnels, it is written in code. And on May 3rd, we will see if Ferrari penned a championship.